It was 6 years ago this week. The country was fixated on this television live shot. Oil pouring into the Gulf of Mexico after 11 people died from an explosion on the Deepwater Horizon oil platform. These images and what was to follow brought attention to the American people to the dangers of offshore drilling. The economic and environmental damage to this day is still felt by the residents of the Gulf. Just recently, the Department of Justice agreed to a settlement that falls way short of restitution. Taxpayers are now on the hook for most of the expense. Businesses have been lost, lives have been changed, and no oil executive has been prosecuted in the wake of the damage. The environmental disaster is evident to this day. For example, Cat Island used to look like this. Today, it's hardly above water. There is oil sitting at the bottom of the Gulf, and it's easily seen if you run aground in a boat just miles offshore. The restoration project is still underway thanks to the work of local residents and concerned citizens. Joining me tonight, environmental consultant P.J. Hahn. Mr. Hahn, good to have you with us tonight.
How are you, sir?
Good, sir. This has been a real heavy lift for the folks of the Gulf. Put into context the amount of damage that the residents still live with in that region.
Well, unfortunately, we still have a massive amount of land loss that's occurred from the oil spill. NOAA, as you probably recall, just released a report showing they've discovered 20% more land loss than what was previously identified in their reports, which is only going to grow. And the sad part, for instance, you just brought up Cat Island, a great example. Ground zero to the oil spill, a beautiful bird habitat sanctuary where we had not only the pelican, the state bird of Louisiana, but we had a variety of very rare and endangered birds that nested out there. Original cost to repair that island when I first got started on it was around $6 million. I just recently learned as early as today that the reports now are showing up to $12 million, double that. And the only thing I could equate it to so people could understand, if you had an accident in your car and the damage was $1,000 and you went and parked it under a tree at your house and 6 years later you decided to fix it, you're gonna have more than $1,000 worth of damage to your car. And that's the same thing with these coastal restoration projects. They're washing away, they're getting deeper and deeper and gone further where you're going to need more and more sediment, you're going to need more and more rocks to be able to repair things like these little islands and restore them. So the cost of these things are going up astronomically. Unfortunately, the fine that BP settled for was way, way below what they should have paid. You know that the oil spill between anywhere from $1,100 a barrel of oil to $4,400 a barrel of oil, depending on negligence. BP killed 11 people on that rig, and they destroyed millions of birds and fish in the Gulf, and went to court and declared they were guilty, and the negligence couldn't be any higher than that. And they received somewhere in the neighborhood of, if you do the average, somewhere around $1,400 the fine on the barrel of oil, way, way below what it should have been. So unfortunately now, the cost of the restoration has been very slow. We're looking at now 2 years before we even see the funding to be able to repair Cat Island, which if the cost was $6 million 4 or 5 years ago, 2 more years from now, it could be $15 million.
And environmentally, the Gulf will never be the same. There will never be anywhere near the recovery that what once was in that region.
You're absolutely right. The Wildlife Federation just came out with some reports really damaging to the turtles, the fish, bottlenose dolphins. We've had over 3/4 of the bottlenose dolphins in the areas where the oil was reported that have yet given birth to a viable calf in that area. So the damage has been astronomical. A lot of the fish, same thing with the fish in the area. There's what they call the little pogey fish. Some of those fish now, they're starting to do studies on those. Coming up, no roe and there no fish roe. So obviously we're losing generations of the fish. Obviously with these little bird islands gone, you're losing generations of birds. Again, Louisiana has over 75 various endangered birds in this area. unfortunately, there's no place for them now to nest. This is a flyway for over 75% of all migratory birds pass through this area looking for breeding spots and nesting spots that are no longer there.
And this will be the story for decades to come, no doubt. And people like you, Mr. Hahn, who have dedicated your life to putting it back together, certainly commendable. And we need all the help we can get down there. I appreciate your time tonight. Thanks so much.
Thank you, and I appreciate you covering the story.
You bet.